I have my first guest here joining me in the studio. I have Marcia Barth. Aloha, Marcia.
Aloha.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking some time to come in and share with us today. Marcia is the author of a book entitled The Shattering, and she did one book signing last week at the Talk Story bookstore in Hanapepe, and she'll be there again this Friday night. And what time will you be there?
5:30 to about 9 o'clock
Right.
p.m.
And her website is marciabarth.tate author. Is that right?
That's correct.
.com. The Shattering. So, Marcia, can you tell us a little bit about the book? Because yeah.
Yes, thank you. The book is my true story of my life, and more than another story of victimization, it's a story of the joy of overcoming. There's a lot of books out there about victimization, but what my message is I want people to know that they can heal from abuse. My story is on sexual abuse. Statistics show that abuse is very prevalent, epidemic, and I think it's time that no matter where we live or where we are, it's time to address it so that people can know they can overcome.
Now, The Shattering, how long did it take you to write that book?
Well, it was a work in process. I probably did the draft very quickly, but then it simmered for a while. And then I cleaned it up and rewrote it. So at the time, I was working 60, 70 hours a week plus writing it. So it was over a period of some years. And I think a lot of it was due to, it was very healing for me writing it. It stirred up a lot. It shook all the dirt I had hid under my rug.
Right, right.
Yes.
So now, did you have a lot of support while you were writing the book?
My brothers, the book is dedicated to my brothers, and my mom have always been very supportive. And probably my best supporter of all is my husband of 40 years. He has he's just been a great anchor, and he's always encouraged me forward.
That's beautiful. Now, so now you mentioned it's sexual abuse. Now, you who are listening, you may not be aware, or maybe you are aware, how prevalent, as Marcia mentioned, I never really knew until I went into the healing arts and started doing massage and then found out exactly how prevalent this is. And even some of my closest friends had been sexually abused as children, mostly from people in their family, right? So, I mean, it's something that so many people do go through, and many people are able to come through and heal from it. And then there are those who cannot. And so, I know a lot of people who end up in prisons or people who have had to deal with abuse as a child. Now, I know, Marcia, you went yesterday to the jail here on Kauai and shared your story. So could you just maybe talk a little bit about what inspired you to even go and share your story with inmates, and have you done it anywhere else?
Yes, back where I live in Pennsylvania, and actually I was raised in the hills of West Virginia, which surprisingly enough is not that much different than Hawaii. And maybe that's why I feel a love for the Hawaiian people. They're very homegrown, like from where I come from. I have went into the prisons back in Pennsylvania for the last 8 years. I've went in to talk with the girls, and it's the same passion that I wanted to visit the girls here, and I was a guest speaker there yesterday. And the reason why is that statistics do show that there's a high percentage, if not over 80%, of women that end up in prison. And we have to incorporate this also into the men also. There's a high degree of abuse and of sexual abuse. In America, every 2 minutes there is a sexual abuse. 97% of the people that are sexually abused, 97% know their attackers. So I should say 93%. 93%. So when we warn our children to beware of the stranger, we're warning them of 7% of the predators. We're not warning them of the 93%.
Right. Well, that's actually been my experience too. Of people I've worked with and friends of mine. Everyone that I know who has been abused, it was someone in their family or a friend of the family. None of those people had people they didn't. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's definitely way more prevalent with family or friends of the family, because that's the people that have access to, children or young adults. And also there's a certain amount of people feel like they should be safe, and then they don't know if they should say anything because they're friends of the family, or that's their uncle or their grandfather or things like that.
Exactly. Someone asked me one time why I didn't speak up as a child. And I think the reason most people do not speak out on any abuse that they've suffered is fear and shame and guilt and blame. That'll shut up anyone. And that's what comes with abuse, is the fear and the shame and the guilt and the blame. But people need to know the hidden message is that you can heal. And you do not heal by putting it under the rug of your life. You will stumble over that rug of life in your relationships and in your choices and in your decisions and in your identity. So my joy and desire is to get people, and even the purpose of writing the book is to let people know you can heal. You do not have to carry this pain and hurt through your life. And there's a process to that healing.
Now I want to just let you know, if you just tuned in, I'm speaking with Marcia Barth. She is the author of a book entitled The Shattering, which is basically her true story. And her website is Marcia Barth. That's MARSHABarth.tateauthor.com. Now, my other question is, Donna, did you self-publish, or were you able to find a publishing company that published the book for you?
Tate Publishing is not a self-publishing company. They are a decisive publisher, yes.
And then how did you even approach someone? So you had this seed thought to write this book, also, for sharing your story, hopefully empowering other people and teaching they can heal, as well as for your own healing process. And so from the moment of conception, I'm going to write this book, to actually getting a book into the hands of the publisher. Just
Yes.
How much time are we talking here?
Oh, I probably started the book over 10 years ago.
Right.
But I was working we owned our own business at the time, so I did it in between there.
Right.
And it was really a walk of faith, writing the book, editing the book, and then even finding the publisher. I was excited when they accepted me, because they don't have a high percentage of acceptance. So
Well, that's why I asked, is because I know so many people write books, and either they never get published or they end up self-publishing. It's a lot of diligence,
yes.
and you actually, there has to be, publishers need to see a certain need for the book. That there's a niche market, you could say, right?
Yes.
There's people that will be encouraged or want to purchase this book. So when did the book actually get into print? When did you actually have your first copy in your hand?
The release date was October the 1st last year.
So it's been close to going on a year.
Going on a year, yes.
Now, I know you're here. You did one book signing last week. You're going to be, once again, I'm speaking with Marcia Barth. She's the author of The Shattering. She will be at the Talk Story Bookstore in Hanapepe this Friday evening. That's August 1st. And your hours again, you'll be there?
5:30 to approximately 9 o'clock p.m.
Right, so this Friday. And so, have you been doing very much touring with the book, or?
Yes, I've done book signings at Barnes and Nobles, at some Christian bookstores. I've also did a lot of radio interviews. I used to DJ with Christian radio back home, and I've done some podcasts and some Skypes. And because for me, the book is a tool to get the message out there. And it's also it's written in novel form. If anyone reads it, I'm Julie in the book. I did change the names, but it is hope and inspiration, and it's not I think it's a book that will help people. And the feedback I'm getting back, I've had a lot of requests for the sequel, and I am working on the sequel as we speak. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, if you just tuned in, Marcia Barth, she wrote the book, The Shattering. I invite you, Marcia, just to talk a little bit about what the book's about, just for people who've just tuned in.
Yes, the book is my true story. It is written in novel form, so it's very easy reading, and it's a story of love and hope and inspiration of overcoming sexual abuse. And I was actually abused by my grandfather when I was 4, and then later my father sexually abused me from the time I was 7 till I was about 14. And there was physical abuse from women that lived with my dad, and there just was a lot of abuse. And it's time for people to know that they can heal. And people need to know, too, that somewhere in their life, the statistics almost prove that you will be touched by some kind of abuse in your family, either by a child, a daughter-in-law, a sister-in-law, a co-worker. So it's very important that we learn how to address the issue, how we can help those, and how we can listen to them.
So when you say your grandfather, was this your father's father?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because one of my roommates, long, long time ago, worked at a sexual offenders prison. It was all sexual offenders. This was in Gainesville, Florida. And he said that like 98% of the people in there had been sexually abused as children. And so, I mean, it's kind of like it's a learned behavior in a way. I mean, not all the time, but very, very frequently, the statistics show. So, I mean, there's a good chance, of course, that your father had been sexually abused since his father was a perpetrator. And the problem is that this cycle just keeps continuing from generation to generation. I'm getting goosebumps. And so that's why it's so important, Marcia, for you or people who have been abused to step forward and say it's time to stop.
Yes.
It's just time to stop.
Yes, and it can stop. It can stop. And yes, my father, I believe he lived in denial, but I do know my family history, and there was a lot of other abuse from my grandfather. So I feel certain that it passed down to my father. My father tried to commit suicide twice, and us children were we found him. So there's a lot of fallout from this. My desire is that when people read the book, they will know it will help them deal with the issue of abuse. It will help those who don't understand abuse understand why the child doesn't speak up and the dynamics of the family. Also, that it will help the abused person know that they're not alone in this. And also, even if an abuser will read it, that they will finally see the devastation that they cause, because abusers tend to minimize and rationalize it to be able to survive what they've done.
Right. Now, if you just tuned in, I'm speaking with Marcia Barth, Marshabarth. She is the author of The Shattering. Even though it's written in novel format, it is a true story. It's her true story. It's her sharing about how she has overcome and managed to have a very happy and fulfilled life with her husband, who's been lovingly supportive for 40 years. You must have been very young when you got married.
Thank you. We just celebrated our 40th. This is part of our celebration.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah, so, and what a beautiful place to spend it here on the Garden Island. Marcia will be at the Talk Story Bookstore in Honopape this Friday evening. That's August 1st for a book signing and a little talk story. That's going to be happening, did you say 5:30 till
9 o'clock.
5:30 till 9 o'clock in Honopape at the Talk Story Bookstore. And her website. Now, can people buy the book through the website? And also, can people buy the book through any other, like Amazon or anything?
They can buy through Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, on my website, or they can ask any bookstore to order it, and they can order it for them. And if they just Google Marcia Barth, if they don't remember the rest, usually everything will come up. My websites, my podcast, and all the information usually all comes up.
Excellent. So once again, Marcia will be at the Talk Story Bookstore Friday evening. That's August 1st. It's already August on Friday. And that'll be 5:30 till 9. Now, will you be doing any reading from the book, or just a little, is it going to be like Q&A, or how is it going to format?
I usually just deal with one-on-one. As people come in, they ask me questions, and I deal with them personally, yes.
Oh, perfect. So, it's just a chance to meet you and talk story with you. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, so she'll be there from 5:30 till 9. That's this Friday at the Talk Story Book Theater in Honopape. And since it's art night in Honopape, so you can have a little chat with Marcia and then enjoy the rest of what Honopape has to offer, which is live music, and all the galleries are open. So it's a wonderful way to spend your Friday afternoon/evening in Honopape town. And so once again, The Shattering by Marcia Barth. And once again, Marcia, what's your hope? I know you have the message. Can you repeat what your message is and your hope is for this book?
My message is that people know that they do not have to live with the hidden pain of abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, domestic abuse, or physical abuse, or any type of abuse they've been through. They can go not only from victim to survivor, but from victim to victor.
I love that. Victim to victor. What 2 letters do.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yes.
That was a beautiful note to